and then just kind of went numb.
Cemetery caretaker William Rees had become Cunanan's fourth victim.
As William Rees is locking up for the day, Cunanan stops his car, jumps out and asks William Rees if he could possibly let him have a glass of water because he's not feeling very well. William Rees invites Cunanan in, but within seconds, Cunanan's pulled out Geoffrey Trail's gun and shot William Rees dead with just one bullet.
Where Bill was murdered was in the basement of the house.
I haven't been into that building since this happened. I don't think I could go back into that building after Bill was shot and killed there.
Even 16 years doesn't change things. Bill was not just a victim. He was not just a cemetery caretaker. He was loved, he loved the family, he loved people. Bill was a human being. Huge void in the family.
Andrew Cunanan had gone from killing friends to murdering strangers in cold blood.
This time there was no torture, this time it was a quick death. It's like Cunanan was trying to use different modus operandi to perhaps challenge the agents who were chasing him.
No one knew where Cunanan would strike next, what was driving him, and who would be his next victim. May the 12th, 1997. Andrew Cunanan had arrived in Miami, Florida. He was getting ready to shock a generation. Miami was the perfect place to harbor a chameleon like Cunanan.
You know, every killer who commits multiple homicide has a comfort zone. Most spree killers don't travel. They stay within their own community, because they know that place, they understand it better, and they're able to get away with murder. There are exceptions. Andrew Cunanan was no multiple personality, but he had a skill that very few people do have, and that is he could change his appearance to look like dozens of other people.
Cunanan is America's most wanted man, yet he hides in plain sight. He makes no attempt to disguise himself. He makes no attempt to hide out in the latest car he's stolen.
It's hard to say if Cunanan was asking to be caught, but I certainly think he was asking to have a showdown. He was asking to have his day of glory. He'd paid for a month's rent in advance, staying at the Normandy Plaza, a once swish hotel in the 50s. And he was living in plain sight around the beaches of Miami. He needed some funds, and he decided to go to a pawn shop where he would exchange one of the gold coins he took from Mr. Miglin's house for $200 cash. He was obliged to provide 2 pieces of ID. The only ID he had was his real name and the real address where he was staying at the Normandy Plaza, which he gave.
Yet again, Cunanan had taken a risk and got away with it. The pawn shop passed on the forms as required to the Miami police, where they lay on a desk unnoticed.
There was really nobody looking for him here. Nobody thought he was here. He really was here out and about like a normal citizen, minding his own business for at least 2 months that we know.
Andrew Cunanan lived and loitered in Miami until the middle of July. Now he was ready to claim the most famous victim of his notorious spree. During Cunanan's heyday in San Diego, He was often heard boasting about his time spent with famous fashion designer Gianni Versace.
Andrew had always talked about celebrities that he rubbed elbows with and couldn't wait to tell us about his chance encounter and meeting fashion designer Gianni Versace. We laughed and we said, well, good for you, isn't that something? Another tall tale, did he really meet him? Did they hang out in a limo and club it all night? Maybe yes, maybe no.
It could be seen perhaps that Cunanan targeted Versace because it was an argument, it was an element of self-loathing against being homosexual and the gay community that he'd now turned against. There was also the belief that Cunanan thought he had HIV and he wanted to take it out on a symbolism for the homosexual culture. Versace would be an ideal target that would bring everything together in one tumultuous storm.
At 8:55 a.m., Andrew Cunanan shot dead one of the world's most famous fashion designers at point-blank range. Cunanan was now the most wanted man in the world, and a massive police hunt had begun. The clues weren't hard to find. William Reese's truck had been left in a nearby car park.
We discovered that the clothes that the witnesses had described was laying on the ground next to the truck. And he went out the fire exit and got into a taxi cab and fled before we were able to secure that garage.
The impact of the Versace slaying continued to grow.